Have you ever gone to a closing where the buyer is suddenly realizing that the mortgage brokerage fees are out of this world? They had no idea what the fees were going to be, and they, at the first time they've seen the charges, were at the closing table. Now, anyone who's been in the business for a while is going to say, oh yeah. The question is, what happened, and what could we as realtors have done to avoid this nightmare? And it really boils down to what happens. You get a phone call, hi, you're a realtor, I'm a buyer, I have a pre-approval, I want to go shopping. And we naturally say, let's go shopping. What's your pre-approval for? And we get them a list of properties, and we go shopping, and then we find them a house, we put it under contract, we get a closing date, we go to closing, and it's apparent by looking at the closing statement and the reaction on the face of the buyer that they had no idea the fees that the mortgage broker was charging. And in a lot of times, we realtors realize that, there's no reason for us to get involved with something like that because, we don't want to cause anguish or problems, and we're not involved with the mortgage brokerage situation, so why would we get involved? And the answer is, well, because you can save them money. They don't know that they're going to get whacked at closing, obviously, because they're at closing and they're freaking out over the fees. So what can we do, or what should we do as realtors to help our customers not face this terrible, terrible scenario of having all of their stuff in a moving van, moving this, we're moving today after closing, and finding out at the closing that the mortgage broker has just crushed them with fees. Now, first thing you can do is decide, are you going to get involved with this? Are you going to get involved with this in advance where your prospect or your buyer is not going to get crushed, and you're going to help them make sure that they don't get crushed? Once you've decided that you are going to provide that value, and I would use that in your presentation when you are interviewing for a for a buyer's agent agreement, you're going to say to them, by the way, I will coach you on how to make sure that you get the best mortgage. I will save you money. Then you've got to know how to do it. So let's talk about what's the first thing you should do if you are going to help your buyer not get beat up by a mortgage broker. Ask them if they have the loan estimate. The loan estimate is given out 3 days after the application, allegedly. Some people don't send them out, but they're supposed to. But when they get that loan estimate, what'll happen is by asking for the loan estimate, the mortgage broker will go down through the fees. The fees that they would have charged if they hadn't given the loan estimate are going to be drastically less than if they have to prepare a loan estimate. Because they're going to go down the loan estimate and say, oh boy, I don't know if I can charge that. Oh my God, I don't know if I can charge that. Oh my gosh, that's too much. They're never going to do the deal with me if I charge that. So what you're going to do is you're going to ask them for the loan estimate. When they ask the mortgage broker for the loan estimate, they're going to save $2,000, $3,000, $5,000 off the fees just by having the loan estimate prepared in advance. Then ask them to see a copy of it, and then send it to another mortgage broker and say, is this a good quote? Can you beat this quote? And a lot of cases, and for me, I am a mortgage broker. My experience with this has to do with my time at Rocket Mortgage. At Rocket Mortgage, if you came to me for a pre-approval, I would take the application and I would input it, and the system would spit out a solution. That solution would be a retail mortgage brokerage solution. And there wasn't much I could do about it to try to get a better deal for my customers. But then they had this meet or beat program where they said if you send a loan estimate in, they would beat the quote or match it. And what happened was they beat it every single time. And that's what made me realize the best way to get anything in life, if you want to get a good deal, you have to have vendors compete for your business. And if you send a loan estimate to another mortgage broker and they give you a better quote, either less in closing fees, less in servicing fees, and I mean, a lot of mortgage brokers charge for a processor, and some mortgage brokers handle it in-house. So they're just going to save $750 right off the top if they do an in-house processing as opposed to sending it out to another third party. So if you send a loan estimate to another mortgage broker and they send back and say, we can save you 3/8 of a point and $1,500 in closing fees, well, you're a hero. And I recommend that you use part of your buyer's agent agreement, as part of your buyer agent presentation, that you tell them that you're going to help counsel them on how to not get ripped off or not get beat up by the mortgage aspect of their transaction. Anyway, Randy Jenkins, appreciate you watching. Have a great day.